My father would be just as violent. He would be at the parks a lot where I would see him fight, or he would have company over, they would be partying in the garage. But he would be disciplining us with a belt to where the marks we left all over us. My mom really never had to say. At one time I was being abused by a relative in my room. And then started to sleep with my grandfather on the floor. And my mom questioned me about it. She said, "Why are you sleeping on the floor next to your grandpa?" And I told her that the abuse did stop. While I was in fourth grade, I don't remember much, but me and my sister had a very bad fight. She ended up stabbing me several times. Fighting was so normal in our family that the next day would just be another day for us to have, having no choice to get over it. An aunt of mine came and talked to me, and she said, "I will be taking your sister to come stay with me." After that incident, the most devastating part of this violence is that the person I loved the most was taken away from me. Even though that, excuse me, even though that terrible thing had happened, I had missed her. In the middle of the storm, she was with me, even in the calm. She was gone for several years, and I had to deal with hurricanes by myself after that. For school, no friends at all. Where I grew up was out on the farm and ranch areas. Most kids were Caucasian and were hardcore East Side Stoners that were racist. I was a poor-looking kid. I used to get picked on a lot. One day I went to school just with one shoe on, for the simple fact I depended on school lunch that much, and I didn't want to be at home alone. When my dad found out the problems I was having at school, he gave me the okay to start fighting. The school tolerated me until I really hurt a girl, and I was expelled in the 6th grade. So then I went to Voorhees Elementary. Fighting became just a normal thing for me. As I would tell my dad about him, he would be very proud of me. My mom never too much around, always at work at her sister's house visiting my sister. We did move, which I really liked, because all I had to do was jump my backyard fence, and I'm at Pioneer Park. So I ran a lot with my friends at the parks every day. Now I'm a teenager. 5 years later, my sister is wanting to move back in, and so it was a little weird at first, and we are still physically fighting at times. One day she called me into the room, and into my parents' room. She said she had some papers, and it was her birth certificate. She said, "Dad, it's not my dad." So I ran to the living room, and I got the Yellow Pages phone book, and I told her, "Let's find your dad." We ended up getting through the phone. We agreed to meet up at Howard's Mini Market the following day. As I stood back, I seen her dad and her stepmom. All three were hugging and were crying. I felt peace, but so much made sense after that. All the chaos and all the differences. I also felt a rage of anger too. Well, then her dad said, "Get over here. You're my daughter too." From that day on, me and my sister were the best of sisters. We kept this secret to ourselves for a while about us finding out who the real dad was, and we would go see him together whenever we could get away with it. And we are starting to meet the rest of our family. I am now at Sierra Junior High, already smoking PCP, got expelled from there, started attending Compton Junior High, getting into more and more fights. On the other hand, my older sister was a good girl, smart into school. She was in band, first chair, playing the flute, involved with clubs, rallies, football games, and into very fun things, very popular too. By this time, I have 4 younger sisters. My dad says, "You're out of control." I didn't even have respect for him anymore. He says, "I gotta take you somewhere where you can slow down. You're getting in way too much trouble." I was also starting to have delinquent acts for being involved with the juvenile justice support system. So off we take a trip to Mexico. He says, "I'll be back at the end of the summer," and he leaves. While I was there, I found out I was pregnant. I am 13 years old. I made it back to Bakersfield on my own. As my dad stood there in shock, he said, "You're welcome," and she walked off. As months went by, my mother came to find out I was pregnant. I'm 6 months now. She took me to the abortion clinic. I seen my daughter for the first time on the ultrasound. I asked the lady, "Can I please keep a picture?" She said, "You know, you don't have to do this if you don't want to." And I told her, "Well, I'm underage." She said, "This is your body, your baby, your decision." I walked out, my mom was yelling at me. She said, "We're not leaving." And then my aunt came, the same aunt that comes in our family crisis. I'll never forget the words she tried to use to calm my mom down. She said, "This is a gift from God." I didn't know anything about God. She then said, I'll be with you to tell her dad." And my mom's exact words said, "He's going to kill me." That following day, I was attending Foothill High as a freshman. My counselor called me into the office. There was my mom and my aunt. We all had to sit down. As I was told that I have to move out. My father said she is out. The night I went into labor, I called my mom and I told her, I think I'm having the baby. She said, go to Memorial Hospital, and I got dropped off there and had my daughter. Once again, my aunt comes. She asked, do you have a name? I told her yes. And she said, I thanked her for coming. I named her my daughter's middle name after my aunt's middle name. And thanked her for coming. Now I'm a single mother, never told her father because I was already hanging out with a certain gang and and he was from somewhere else, and also he was in YA. Back then, underage kids couldn't get government assistance, and it had to go through the parents. My dad said if she wants to live as a grown-up, she can work like one too, so I did. I worked at many different jobs. My best friend's mom would get me in with her and she would pay me. I'm no longer hanging out in the parks with everyone like I used to. For the next 5 years, me and my daughter went living in so many different houses with gang unit probation sweeps always coming around. I started to only carry 2 duffel bags, just enough to carry for when it was time to go, I could split. At one time I did go stay with my aunt, and I seen a picture on the wall. It was God, but he was not on the cross. He was on the water. I stood there staring at it, and she said, that's Jesus walking on water. I said, it's nice, but unrealistic. Little did I know, right? I didn't stay there long, but I'll never forget the 3 things she said to me as a serious talk right before I was getting ready to leave her house. She said, tell your daughter how much you love her, as much as you can, stay away from drugs, and stay away from Jehovah's. I was like, what the heck is that? I never even heard of that. So, but later on I found out, okay. I had already been selling dope. I was in and out of high school, and by now my daughter's father and his family know about her. She's been having visits and knowing her other side of the family. My senior year, my mother gave me the news that my 9-year-old little sister had cancer. I did all I could when I was allowed to be around to help and visit her. I'm now trying to catch up on my credits, taking 0th through 7th period, volunteering at the library for extra credit, and also taking high school at the Bakersfield adults. Excuse me. I did start using cream. I was using it as a tool only to stay awake. I did graduate from Highland High. The same night of my graduation, a drive-by had happened on my daughter's father's house. My daughter was not hurt, but her aunt was, that was holding her. She was hit in the leg, and she was okay though, thank God. During this time, I found out my older sister, the good girl, had been using it, and I did start selling to her. One day we had another physical fight, and just like that, we were enemies again. We stopped talking for about 2.5 years, and my mother called me telling me that she had flatlined during the surgery. She was on life support for several hours. The day of her discharge, I did pick her up and I took her back to my place, and we made a promise to each other, no matter how bad we did each other, that we would make ourselves start talking. Meanwhile, one of my best friends that I knew since the 9th grade asked me to be my daughter's dad. It was very awkward having this conversation with him. He said, I know everything about you, and you know everything about me, and also we had lived together for almost a year. He was my roommate. We took it very slow during this time. We both worked. I did my thing, working, pushing, and smoking. Us now starting to be a couple. I got the news that my little sister, little Annette, her cancer had gotten worse, and that she would no longer be able to have chemo treatments. I do remember asking God if he could please let my sister live, I would stop smoking PCP. Not even a month later did my cousin come over saying they're only giving her 2 hours left to make it. And I had already gone high then. Really, I had just finished one. I go over, we all took turns holding her. I was the last one to hold her. As she took her last breath, all I could do was tell her how much I loved her and how sorry I was, saying it in my thoughts. I had to get up and lay her back in my mother's arms. And I took off her oxygen, and as I stood up, hearing all the cries, all I could feel is that I did this to her, and I looked at my dad, and not one tear came out of his eyes. Same day, I stopped smoking PCP, became a full-blown drunk alcoholic. and I'm 22 years old, and he wants to have a child. I agree. 1 year later, we have our first son. He really slowed down with the partying and stopped gang banging, not as much. He got work in the oil fields. He said, "You don't have to work anymore, just stay home and with the kids now." So I did, and I did stop selling. But now I'm starting to smoke PCP again more than I ever had before. And I was also injecting meth. It was a new thing going around, not too much, just enough to get me through a night of partying and drinking hard liquor as well. Well, eventually domestic violence began, control issues started happening. I'm now staying at home alone and just using by myself, hiding bruises and being in fear of him. While my second son was 4 months old, CPS eventually did catch up to us and monitored us for 3 months. Ended up taking our kids away because of the domestic violence, also because I had one dirty test. I was forced to leave the house. I continued to use as he continued to drink, and we would just know how to pass these drug screens. We did end up getting our kids back 1 year later. CPS closed the case, and just like that, crucial meetings started happening again. Because of course of his out of control drinking and my out of control using. And then sure enough, there was a day we're at one of our places where the kids like to have fun and we like to drink. King Leo's Pizza. He went off on me in front of everybody that fast, coughed from mold again. And now I have a lion showing up at my house. They're coming out once a week, taking pictures, making sure my old bruises are healing to tell the difference, that they are not new bruises. Now he has a whole different way of taking his rage out on me. And that's hitting me in my head only. Knocking me out at cold at times. My daughter was helping me clean myself up, and she said, "Mom, leave. I'd rather have my mom somewhere in this world than to not have you at all." You see, I was no longer trying to seek medical attention for the fact I did not want my kids to be taken away again or having to be in the system again. I was 28 years old at this time. So I left. My mom tried to hide me. He would find me, drive me back home, and take off again. And then he would have me kicked out of other places because they didn't want no problems. Then he would have his way with me and then kick me out of his place as well. And I'm now pregnant with my third son, my youngest son. I ended up finding some old friends again. I knew I was getting myself more into serious things. I got tired of him. I needed more help to make him stay away from me. I did end up getting incarcerated while my third son was 4 months old. And he's now staying with his father also. After getting out, it was all good. My kids are happy. They have stopped crying for me. I'm able to see them often, leave them gifts. Eventually, he starts talking to other women. I was on a roll again. Money, freedom, being a selfish mother, seeing my kids when I felt like it. And my 15-year-old daughter, being a mom to her 3 younger brothers, my mom is helping her. There was a situation that had occurred, and once everything was resolved, I went to my parents' house scared. My dad said to me, "Not even the dog makes the mess you do." He told me once again, "Leave this house." My dad always had a way where words were short and would cut like a knife. I seen my family was okay, but my mind wasn't. In a blink of an eye, my life was changed. Being involved with drug culture as a result of that trauma, I was a shattered person. I was not myself, nor another person. My next experience, I was overwhelmed by an evil presence. I had a dark, corrupted point of view, and now my life is motivated with blind fear of people, places, and circumstances. I was now fearing every single person, not just my kids, my kids' dad, my family too, everyone and anyone. I walked and walked that day. I locked myself up in the bathroom at Heritage Park and laid up in a fetal position and began to cry. I asked myself the how and the why. How did I get my life so screwed up? What am I going to do now? What can I do now? I'm out of options. I'm out of options everywhere. Nowhere to turn. I only have myself. Somebody started banging on that bathroom door, and all I could do was say, "Grandpa," remembering how I lay down next to him. I eventually got myself up out of that bathroom. I was tired, scared, hot. It was in the middle of the summertime. Kept having these hallucinations with audio and vision.
For the next 3 years, I would be going through dumpsters, eating food from the trash at fast food restaurants, filling up 2 liters of water per bed, surviving the streets, many different places to sleep, finding many different places to sleep. And then my biggest fear happened. My daughter seen me homeless. She was with her Dia. They were there at the gas station, and I hadn't seen her almost a year. As I knocked on the window, she wouldn't even look at me. As I knocked harder, she wouldn't even budge. As I told her aunt, I did what she told me to do. She told me to leave. She said for you to leave so you can go with the lions, not for you to get lost and never come back. She said, look how skinny you are. As I walked away saying, she's absolutely right, but I needed my drugs, so on the road to go again. In 2010, I was diagnosed being schizophrenic, admitted into Crestwood Behavioral Health. I'll be walking the streets everywhere, in and out of Mary Kay Shaw's Crisis Unit Center, as they would hold me down, giving me shots to calm me down, being admitted in and out of the psych wards. I lost all my parental rights for my kids, including my daughter, for the fact I did not show up for court, and neither did her biological father. And so now my kid's dad got sole custody of for my children, and I'm not allowed to have visitations at all. These episodes would be mild to severe, and eventually my sister takes me in to stay with her as I got worse with my mental health. Her and my nephews would take care of me. I'd wake up from the bad ones, either in jail or I'd be back in Mary Kay Shaw's Crisis Unit, from there being transported back to Crestwood. There, one of the times my grandma had a pastor come visit me, and I don't remember much, just that he was there to pray over me. She even gave me a cross necklace that belonged to my grandpa. She said, wear it, it'll keep you safe. I wore it for a couple of days, but I believe if I continue wearing it, I would be dead or someone in my family would be hurt really bad. I ripped the necklace right off my neck and I threw it on the floor. You see, I was so confused. I believed sin owned me, so I couldn't have no part of that. And that I had belonged to him. Amazingly, someone seen me with that necklace and knew it was mine and took it to my sister. She seen me and she told me what happened. It scared me bad. I was like, what the heck? Tell me that's God, right? She told me what happened and it scared me so bad. She told me, I'll hold on to it for you. Not too long after that, I was incarcerated again. One of the times, me being in pre-trial, my daughter, at that time she was 22 years old, came to visit, telling me she was pregnant. As I seen her and my sister through the glass window, I told her, I'm not going to tell you nothing. You've always been a good girl. You've made a responsible life, still caring for your younger brothers. Okay, so now the very last time I was locked up was for another, the last time I was locked up was for another felony, but this time was on a federal charge. I was not able to be with general population. I was in solitary confinement administrative. This was the severity of how bad my mental health was in order for them to manage and control me. The day of my court hearing, the judge told me I had to do over, it was about 1,200 hours of community service. I turned around shaking my head no to my sister. The same night in my segregation cell, I heard them say my last name, roll up on the speaker. I let my head down, shaking it back and forth, and I was the type that did better in jail, and I wanted to stay there. I was ready to go upstate. I was ready to do that 7-year term. I didn't want to be out of jail anymore. Of course, I got out, still using. Not too much longer after that. Not too much longer came December of 2015. It was my last awful episode. It was the darkest. It was as if the devil had swallowed me whole and I was living in the pit of his stomach. I stood in this episode for 3 months. I told myself, oh no, I'm stuck. I can't get out of it. All I knew about God was to say in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I kept saying it over and over. I finally cried out to God, please, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a grandma. Please, can I have another chance? Help me. It was the first time I truly cried out to him, as if he was real, as if he was right there in front of me. I closed my eyes, stopped crying. I really felt no hope. When I opened my eyes, I seen water reflections on the wall. I thought I was dying. I gave up saying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which was the last of that 3-month agony episode that had a hold of me. That following morning, I woke up hearing the birds chirp, seeing everything regular. With no strange colors, I could recognize my mom's voice. My body felt the same way as I had never used drugs before. I said to myself, is it gone? Is it gone? I realized it was gone. I literally started hopping up and down, happy as can be. It has been 10 years since I've been in a mental institute for my mental health. For the next 8 months, I was locking myself up in the house, still afraid of the world. I wouldn't even be able to watch TV or have appliances around me. A phone, forget it. It was part of my mental health condition why I could not have these kind of things around me. I had to start doing these community hours. Excuse me. My grandmother said, the pastor said, you can work at the church. I said to myself, I don't know about that. What if the audio and the vision start coming back? I believe sin still owned me at that time. Well, I started off with 2 hours a week. You have to understand, I'm still very confused about the enemy and about God. I said, I'm here only to work these community hours. I'm not here for church and I'm not here for God. I tried to put on the radio on 94.1 and the pastor said, sorry, it has to stay on Life FM 88.3. So I did. Being in silence was hard for me. As long as I could have some kind of noise around me, I could be able to concentrate just a little bit better. As time went by, doing all these hours, eventually I have others asking me, how are you staying clean? I wanted to say, I think it's God, but what would they think? What would the enemy think? As soon as that thought came in my head, the same day my arm got broken. I could not use my arm for 9 months. Talk about the enemy, what he does to get in the way, right? But still, I would show up at the church working. Everybody knew me. Being on church grounds that much and hearing the words and the music associating with the women and the men seeing their walk and their talk, my transformation started happening. I was having structure, but with kindness of love, not being treated as a troublemaker. The last day of my completion of all those hours, it took me over a year and 2 weeks due to my arm being broken. Pastor Denny Watson said, we're still waiting for you, Mary. Come to church. We are here every Sunday. No, instead my thoughts were, hey, I'm going to go use. I said, this trippiness of mine hasn't happened for a while. Plus, my felony probation is coming out once a month to stop drug testing me. Well, the same day I went into an episode, so now I'm scared all over again. I couldn't understand why I was in one. I really thought they were only happening when I'm underneath the influence. That next Sunday, I showed up to church, and there was a song that was playing, Never Let Go. My panic attack started happening, I almost ran out. As I lifted my hands up in the air, my whole body was trembling, and the sun came shining through the windows so bright that I knew it was God. And right then and there, God revealed to me who he was, and all the voices went away. I didn't feel dirty, I didn't feel ashamed no more. I felt safe and loved, and so many hands started to touch me on my shoulders and my arms. I knew who the darkness was and who the light of life was. God said, praise me. If I didn't, it would all come back. With God in my heart, no demons want to be around that. And little by little, I found strength to be able to claim Lord Messiah. I was in a drug addiction for 29 years, and I am sober 9 years now.
Yeah!
It says in Joel 2:25-26, I will restore the years the locust has stolen, and the cutter of my army shall eat plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord, who has dwelt wondrously with you. I have done the simplest things that some might not say, that's not big, but for me it is, in God it's everything. On January 10th of 2016, I was with my daughter when she had my grandchild. When I had missed so many events, weddings, funerals, birthdays, and so on and so on. In February 2017, I got granted supervised visits once a month with my sons. I got my driver's license. I hadn't had one since I was 23 years old. From not wanting to be identified. One time I was getting arrested and my parents happened to be in that area. I was sitting in the back of the car and I was trying to duck so they wouldn't see me, and the officer opened the door and he pulled and I said, "Please shut the door, I don't want my parents to see me." Now my children are believers. Repeating cycles are now broken in my family. In 2019, I graduated Memorial Dignity Health Homemaker Program. I couldn't register with the state because of my criminal record. And May 21st of 2020, I stopped smoking cigarettes.
Yeah! Yeah!
I was a chain smoker for 33 years, and now it's been 4 years since I've had any kind of nicotine.
Yeah! Thank you, Jesus!
Amen. I started attending church every Sunday. Same year, started working. I got my own apartment again. I've been there going on 4 years. When before, I'd never been in one spot more than 3 months. Just for the simple fact, I would purposely bounce so that way I couldn't be found by the law, or just getting kicked out of places. In 2021, I got my first complete legit card. On February 14th, on Valentine's Day, I got my parent rights back again, physical and joint. I have now I have alternate full weeks, unsupervised visits with my youngest son. I am an outpatient. I have been attending behavioral health appointments for 9 years now. God blessed me to be the mother I've always dreamed to be. The following week, I found out about Celebrate Recovery meetings. You know, before I found out about Celebrate Recovery meetings, I didn't trust myself for 4 years in the beginning of my recovery, you know? I just kept myself isolated, didn't go to parts of Bakersboro streets, parts in the stores, because I didn't trust myself, there and back, don't even look at me, can't smell alcohol, don't want to whip that cigarette, nothing, But now I have freedom. So November 21st, I got off felony probation, paid off my restitution, and I got all my felonies expunged. God's amazing grace performed a miracle. My last case was to stay permanently.
Yeah!
Thanksgiving Day that year, the first time ever, my mom asked that my family
Like
to
these
hold
videos,
hands.
man. Like these
I
videos.
thought she was going to say, everybody say something what you're thankful for. There's no believers in my family, I can tell you that. So instead, she said, "Mary, can you lead us into prayer?" Before I was so lost, broken, and shattered, my family would pass me by in their cars, even on hallowed days. They can count on me now. God said, don't remember those days no more. Remember this day forward from now on. October 23rd, I have been blessed with my first home health caregiving job. Slowly transitioning out of cleaning services, doing what I have a passion for, to help the sick and pray with them. March 7th, 2024, I got all my misdemeanors expunged. I owed altogether over 19 grand. It took me 9 years to pay it off. With that, with unreduced. I wanted to be held accountable for it. The judge asked me, the people, what is your decision? With all 4 of the DAs said in favor. I have now been forgiven by the courts and society. In May 6th of 2024, I registered with the state of California as a HCS care provider. I am now certified. I have finally made a start. I have a license number for home care services now. I continue to further my education in the medical field. I currently work 4 jobs. I hold it down only because the Lord saved me.
Man.
He gave me mercy, even after I denied him over and over. He loved me. December 2nd, I graduated my first step class. The journey begins at Bakersfield First Assembly. I am now, and the journey continues, and I have been able to forgive myself.
Amen.
Amen. I've been resurrected, renewed, reborn, redeemed, restored, and revived. The Lord strengthens me each day. Lord Almighty brought these dry bones back to life. In 2 Corinthians 5:17, all things have passed. Behold, behold, of all the things have become new. And now my grandkids never have to know that other me. Never. I'm still building relationships with my children and my family. I was absent so many years. This is my story, and I stand in obedience, doing what the Lord says. My mess now turned into a message. I am no longer a victim either, but I am victorious. I even yell out scriptures in my nightmares. The enemy can't attack me while I'm sleeping no more. I was a taker, and now I'm a giver. For all the newcomers and all that have begun your journey of recovery, keep coming. Last year, my daughter got sick on me. I didn't know how to accept this rare blood disease that she will now have for the rest of her life. Many different emotions took over me so bad that I was ready to go back and do it all over again. Sorry. My sisters and brothers, my forever family, CR family, continue to pray for me as they did for her. She is now living her life as the way she was before. The Lord saved her as well. He said, keep your eyes on me and she will have a beautiful life. So when it comes to hardships, find meetings, come here with your CR family. They will help you get through it. In Proverbs 27:17, it says, iron sharpens iron as one person will for another. I pray for you to get in a step study. I'm happy to stand on top of everything of my past. It is now under my feet. And now I walk the waters with Jesus. I stand with confidence on a solid foundation anywhere and everywhere. My painful memories have now faded and are no longer alive. I share with you what Jesus Christ has done. How marvelous, powerful, beautiful, miraculous, and precious, forgiving, loving, and of his glorious ways are. And what he has done for me and continues to bring me from glory to glory. With all this is why you hear my praises roar. Ephesians 6:10-11, finally, be strong in the Lord and put on his mighty power, the full armor of God. Yahweh has shielded my ears and lets me see only his beautiful ways. My ears and my eyes, sorry. I will love, honor, and adore the Lord for his grace he has given me. I'm living a life I never thought I could have. So come as you are and surrender it all to him. Thank you for letting me share what God's done in my life, and he will do the same for you.